professional audition after drama school bears this great correlation to my first ever audition, because I'd done my last production in drama school, which was No, No, Nanette, so it was a musical, and they'd done an audition process in which I had been cast as Nanette, which really annoyed every single member of staff and everyone in the school who'd been having singing tutorials for 3 years, because I wasn't one of those. But the outside director went, but she's the best, so she's got the part. So I was the most hated person in my drama class. And I have to say, the whole traumatic process of doing No, No, Nanette nearly made me give it up. Because there was this kind of, that was my part, and I just said to my laugh at the time, I don't think I've got whatever it is, that extra layer of skin or whatever it is to get through this business. So I was really lucky that I was spotted during that show by William Hartnell's son-in-law, who'd come to see No, No, Nanette and made a particular note about me, and we were doing the American production. And he wrote down 1 American, 10 English, and he thought I was the only genuine American in the cast. So he obviously got the breakdown for Doctor Who, come through his door, landed on his desk, and he looked at that and went, oh, I know someone who could do that. I just saw her 2 weeks ago at Webber Douglas. So he contacted me, and of course I think I'd finished school by about 7 days. Now, you're not expecting a lot of auditions after 7 days, you're still struggling to get an agent. And so when I got the phone call, I did think it was a joke. I thought it was one of my friends playing a prank on me. So I actually told them to get off the phone and stop being so silly. So I hung up on my prospective agent on the very first call. And basically, once I understood this was a proper audition, he said, I'd like you to go up for this part, and I explained, well, I'm not American, I'm English. And he said, doesn't matter, just go in and do exactly what I saw you doing on the stage. I want you to play it like you're Nanette. He said, because they are only auditioning Canadians and Americans. Okay, right. So I went to the BBC for my audition. He got me an audition, and I did not for 1 minute think I would be getting this lead role, but I did think I was in with a chance of meeting these people, and maybe I could get a little part in Doctor Who. That would be amazing. I could die before the titles, you know, something really, you know, get exterminated by a Dalek or something. And so I went with, in a way, a sense of freedom, because I thought, there's no way they're going to give this to me. I've only just left drama school. Fine, I'll just go in and do my audition. Well, 4 auditions later, which was about 7 or 8 weeks from the first audition, I started to think, I could be in with a chance, and I was just starting to get nervous by that point. I also ran out of things to wear for auditions. And they started to ask me lots of questions about where I was brought up in America and what school I'd been to. And I was like, and they also had, at one point, a film crew from Denver who were making a documentary for the local fans in Denver about auditioning for the American Companion. I thought, oh, now I'm caught. Any minute now, so I'm just going to go, fake, you know. And so I just kept going, and then eventually it came down to 2 of us, the difference being that one of us had an equity card and one of us didn't. So this whole thing was just dragging out. So after 3 months of pretending to be American, though I did give myself dual nationality, I thought that made sense as to why I was here. And at that point, my father had already died, so no, he was just, that's not true, he was still alive, God. So that's weird, because I was thinking Dad wouldn't mind, so I pretended my father was American. Not that that ever came out, but afterwards I always thought it was kind of him saying, you know, nobody can track me now. But I got to the point where it was down to 2 of us, and I was told if you don't get an equity card in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have to give it to the other girl, but you're our first choice. She's like, what?
I know, wow.
How am I supposed to sort that? You can't buy them. You can't, you have to get a job to get your equity card. And I didn't get a job in 3 weeks. So it's like, and I thought, right, that's it. There's no way. So I gave up for about 10 minutes.
Good time limit.
And then I thought, right, got to find a way to do this. So I went onto the equity site, and there was a way to get a 0 weeks card. That's kind of like a driving license with, like a provisional license, I saw it as. Because you had to get like 30 weeks of solid work to then get a full equity card. But they didn't need that, they just needed an equity card. So if you were a variety performer, so you do your own show and you take it to various locations, you write your own contracts. So what I needed was 5 contracts to prove to equity that I could earn a living, because that's what equity cards were all about. So how am I going to get 5 contracts in 3 weeks? So I wrote 5 contracts, and I literally walked around, starting at my local pub, going, would you like to hire me for an evening? Not really, no. Would you like to hire me for free, but you could pretend you paid me £75? Maybe. What are you going to do? I said, don't blame me, I'm going to sing. It's not pretty, but, what about copyright? It's my own material. So I took my own material to pubs. Heaven help, thank goodness, they were mostly very drunk by the time I started. And they all signed the contracts to say that I had been there and earned my money, and £75 was the minimum in those days that you could do to prove that you were earning a living. So I rushed into equity with my contract saying, I'd like my 0 weeks. And they said, all right, that's fine, we've got a meeting. Sorry, I'm so good, I go on forever.
Oh, I love it. I just want to know what you're saying and will you do a rendition now? But
yeah. So I took all these contracts to equity, and they said, don't worry, we will let you know the result this Friday when we have our meeting. I had to let them know Friday afternoon if I had my equity card or not to get this job. No pressure. So Friday morning, I ring up and I go, right, hello, I'm calling about my equity card. Have I got a provisional? And they just basically said, oh, sorry, we didn't have time to look at your contract. We'll have to do it next month, because they only met once a month. So I went, oh, okay. Put the phone down. 10 minutes again. And then I went, what? That's it, right, what can I do? What can I do to change this? I'm going to ring them up, I'm going to make threats, okay? What else can I do? So I rang up equity and I said, excuse me, I have probably the most fabulous job that any actor could possibly have, coming straight out of drama school, on offer, and you are stopping me from working because you haven't taken the time to look at my contract. If you don't do this, I'm taking the story to the press. Hold on a minute. We'll call you back in an hour. So, an hour later, I got a call to say I have my 0 weeks contract. So you kind of think, there's so many times where things can like hit you in the face and the world says no, and sometimes you just have to go, hold on a minute, this isn't the no, I'm not accepting this no, I'm going to come back and fight that again. The odds were probably, 10,000 to 1 that I would get that job. The point is that when I got the audition, was I prepared to go in, pretend to be American, and swim? That was the other terrifying thing, because I had to drown in this, and I was a non-swimmer. I did not swim at the point when I was auditioning for this show. I hated the water, I hated the sea, I had no intention of ever getting into the sea, except for toes. That was just my kind of thing. I did not like swimming. So when John Nathan Turner said to me, do you swim? What do I say now? Because I didn't know what was in the script. I just went, why? And he said, well, because there's a drowning sequence. And I went, oh, drowning's my speciality. And that was it. He thought, oh, she's so funny, and I was like, that's the truth. So between the point of getting the part and, you know, actually getting to the filming, I had to go for swimming lessons. It was horrendous. What happened with me was, I knew that the first story was on a holiday planet, so to speak, and that my character was on holiday, and I had a drowning sequence. So there were these normal factors. I was in a comfortable pair of walking espadrilles, fine. Not short shorts, longer shorts, shirt tied. Yes, I had a bikini, but for a swimming scene. Not a walking around the TARDIS scene, a swimming scene. So that was okay. And all the press did do this, you know, how do you feel wearing a bikini? And I said, well, probably a lot more sensible than I would wearing a three-piece suit for swimming. You know, it was like the press made such a big deal out of it. And then they wanted the shoot with Peter doing his Bond thing and me doing the Ursula. And I think what happened was, what was going to be a one-off costume for the summer, JNT suddenly thought, no, I think we're onto something here. And it was like I literally never got dressed.
You've got Fraser Hines, and of course you've got Patrick Tran.
Yeah.
And I know you've gotten very well with him, but I think it's nice when you've only had the one doctor, you know, you've had three, you've had that more experience of working with a range of people. And just what was he like as well, just to be with?
Oh, he was amazing. And I am so lucky, I feel so blessed that I got to work with 3 doctors. I mean, that is stupendous. What are the odds of that actually happening during the show? It was great because I suppose it could have gone in either direction. There could have been that kind of friction, you know, we're the new crowd, we're the old crowd. There could have, but it was instantly like a party. It was instantly like, hey, this is great. How are we going to make this work? Yeah. We got on really well. We had a ball, and I think it's yet again, you know, how fortune favours things. We arrived in Seville, and part of our luggage, with literally all the props for makeup, were lost. And so we had to sit around by the pool. Horrible. I was really furious. And, you know, talk to each other and drink non-alcoholic cocktails, of course. And just wait for them to find the suitcases with all the various bits of makeup. So we all got to know each other even better than if we'd just gone straight there to film.
We're on guest stars, Mark the Rani, obviously it was a master story as well, and I thought, you know, he was very in control, Anthony, of his parts, and then to have another new villain coming along. Sadly, she's no longer with us, but the late Kate O'Mara, who's a personal friend of mine, lovely that we had her here as well. I just wondered memories of her, what she was like, because, you know, she obviously at that time, she'd just come straight off the Dynasty set, so it would have been like, wow, Hollywood comes back to, you know, a quarrying, wherever, but there
I was quite intimidated when I heard that we were going to have Kate O'Mara starring, and I just thought that I must stay out of the way, because you hear these stories, oh, she's very difficult. Okay, you know, I thought she's a big star, don't want to get in the way, don't want to have any problems, you know. So I kind of kept myself to myself, in the sense that we had like half a day's rehearsal, and she was very friendly, very professional, got on the job. And then of course the minute we got on set, which was for our, not set, but on location, for our first lot of filming, we had typical British weather. So literally we spent 2 days in a Winnebago waiting for it to stop raining. At which point, we all kind of, or a few of us started to gather in the makeup Winnebago, which was the warmest and most comfortable to sit and chat. And Kate and Colin obviously knew each other, and there's only like 4 seats in these Winnebagos. So Kate had her seat and Colin had her seat, and I sat in the floor on the corner because I just thought, just right, you know. And she was so nice. And after about half a morning, noticing suddenly, what are you doing sitting on the floor? You know, I said, oh, I'm fine. And somebody else was sitting on the seat. She said, get off! She's the star of the show, you know. And she got off the seat and she sat me down and she said, I'm going to have to teach you a lot about this business, dear. And she did. She was very sort of confident. And we lost touch, as you do in this business, but every time we bumped into each other, it was a real, oh, how you doing, you know. And then I'd spoken to her after she'd lost Dickon.
Yeah.
And there were various things that I said to her that she found very helpful, and we ended up having a very different bond because of what had happened at that point. And she felt she could ring me up and talk to me about various things, and we became very close in the last year or so. And thank you all for being so warm and asking such interesting questions and being so lovely to come and see. Thank you.
Try and keep it niche here at the Misty Moon. So everyone, Nicola!